Good morning, my beautiful people. Well, I guess good morning if you're on the West Coast. Good afternoon and happy Saturday. Welcome to another episode of the RPD show. What? Episode 28 we're recording here on I was going to say Friday the 13th, but Saturday, March 13th, 2021. Oh, you may ask, what hoodie do I have on here, right? Um, Previous podcast, I can't even speak today. What am I doing? Previous podcast guest, Theo Hartson, just dropped new merch and he shipped me one of his hoodies. Uh, it's cream colored with maroon font. Um, it feels very comfortable. A really bold choice for me because sometimes I'm a messy eater and like I'll probably stain this within a week or two. But hey, gotta support your friends. I dig it just because I wear a lot of like black hoodies or I don't have like lighter colors like this, so I'm all about that. So go check those out. Go hit them up if you want one. They're cool. Like I look fresh. Like what can I say? Um, just getting my stretching. Big weekend we have on our hands. Um, well, I guess every weekend's big, but this will be the last weekend in existence that we don't have Zack Snyder's Justice League. That comes out next week, and I'm so excited. Oh, I still need to finish Sean O'Connell's book. That episode is dropping Tuesday or Wednesday, just depends. Where me and Trent are working really hard on some post production stuff for the show, and I'm really excited about it. Um, just changing some things and making things look better and making us legit, baby. Not that we aren't, but like making it even more legit. So it's really exciting. Trent's the man. He does the graphics. He mixes and edits the audio. He's my co-producer of the show. We bounce ideas off each other all the time. I wouldn't be where I am without him. So if you need graphic design or audio services, or he's dabbling into video editing now too. Or if you just want to go check out his music, go hit him up at either Trent Stark or Trent Stark Music. He'll gladly, talk with you just because, he works really hard. I work hard. And it is, it's all love, So shout out to him. He'll probably be cheesing when he gets to this. Today's a very special episode because I am having one of my best friends on the show today, NickyV. We've been best friends really since the 6th grade. Obviously, I moved to Buffalo from San Diego. He lives in San Diego. So we don't see each other as much, but we stay in touch. It's going to be a really fun one. Been meaning to have him on for a while, but it feels like the time is right. He's in a bit of a transition, and he's been working on this book series, which is like pretty remarkable. I mean, not many people, my age or even in general, like I'm going to create this sci-fi book series that, so he's been working hard on that. I'm curious to hear updates. And obviously me and him both love we talk Marvel and DC and all that all the time. So we're going to talk some WandaVision, some Falcon and Winter Soldier hype, Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's just going to be a cool conversation. We grew up playing basketball together. His dad coached us, and the type of friendship where like middle school, high school, he's at my house, I'm at his house, like every other weekend or whatever. And we just would always have a good time. Me, him, and Theo Hartson, previous podcast guest. We were like the big three. We'd always be hanging out, doing stuff. But yeah, so super exciting stuff. I'm really excited for this one because some of the guests, obviously, I might not. It's more of a professional thing. Like I'm trying to help you, giving them a platform to promote their thing or their song or whatever. And this is more of like I'm doing the same, but also like this, like he knows me too well. I know him too. So it's gonna be an interesting dynamic. It's gonna be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. He should be joining any moment. But if you're still listening at this point, I thank you enough. Like Yeah, I know you probably don't check out every episode, but if you're a constant, been listening from day one, I appreciate it. We're trying to improve the show, and we are improving the show. Not that I don't think it's bad, but it's there's always room for improvement, and that's how you grow. So I'm really looking forward to what's to come, and got a lot of very cool guests planned that I can't wait to like roll out. And I mean, some guests that have been recorded and some that are in the works that I'm coordinating with. It's gonna be fun. This is fun. This is why I do it. You know, um, nothing. It's it's a passion project that is kind of a networking tool, really. I mean, if you have a idea for a podcast, start it. I mean, there are a lot of people. I mean, everyone and their mother has a podcast now. I hope I'm bringing value to anyone that is out there listening. But I mean, what a world we live in today, right? It's quite a time. It really is. So things are improving. I think we're getting there. So I'm optimistic. I'm an optimistic person. So it's we'll see where it goes. But man, I kind of need a haircut. But I don't know. I'm contemplating. Hit like, subscribe, and follow. All that good jazz. But I'm not sure if I should keep growing the hair out, just trim it up a little, or what. But I do like the flow. Nick texted me. He said he's having some technical difficulties, which is all good. But so we're here chatting. I wish that if this was live, I'd be like answering questions and stuff or whatever, or just talking to people. But it's just me in my bottle of liquid IV. Maybe I should. I'm gonna go get some water so I can stay hydrated. But I'm really excited to talk to NickyV, see where he's at. But without further ado, please welcome NickyV to the RPD show. Yeah. Yes.
It is a pleasure to be with you today, Ryan. Dang, okay, that was longer than I thought, but
then the head. I was gonna do the head nod that Chadwick Boseman does, the cap.
Oh yeah, Ibombe.
Now you got me hyped. That's a great intro, man. This has been long overdue, but I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah, dude.
How's life and everything out in the West Coast?
Life has been the same since March 13th of 2020. Inside with masks.
I hear you. I mean, it's a strange time. I've got some N95s in the corner over here, but how has it been for you? Like, have you been able to stay sane? I mean, at least personally for me, it's been like kind of a huge roller coaster. And then I'm like, no, I'm still like, kind of like, I'll have my 2-week funks, and then I'm like, oh, I'm back to normal. And then it's like, damn, I'm sad. And then it's weird.
No, I definitely, I think you've experienced this, where I go through different phases of optimism, and then I just crash with like, this is never going to end. And past year's been hard because I work with kids and the school shut down. So my job kind of went away. And then it came back for a little bit, but then we started taking care of my grandma. She was high risk, and I had to step away from my work again. So I haven't been working in the past since July. So I've been, luckily I have school and I have other like passion projects I've been working on, but yeah, it gets lonely. I'm not gonna lie.
It does, because it's not like you can ask people to hang out, but it's still like weird, and it's like, even if you do, it's like you do that like once every month, or it's just like not a normal social, and like, I don't know, like this is cool what we're doing. Like, we're on talking to each other on a computer and through the phone or whatever. But like, it's obviously not the same type of interaction. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
Well, I mean, even before quarantine, this is all we could do because you're all the way on the East Coast. I'm out here.
that's
So
true.
this is how I get my dose of Ryan.
Hey
But
man, I feel like, I mean, like I was actually thinking about it when I was showering this morning. I was like, I feel like I haven't, it feels like it's been longer than what, the year or like year and a half that I've actually been out there and like seen you and your family.
I think you were out here fall 2019,
Yeah.
just
So like, well,
before it all hit.
pretty much. Yeah. Wow. But it feels like it's been longer because 2020 has felt like it's been at least 2 to 3 years,
Yeah.
at least. Like, it's just weird. But
True.
how's the family doing and everything? I miss them a lot.
Family's good. Mom's been teaching away like crazy. She's been doing virtual schooling. So it's difficult because she can't be there with the kids to interact directly. But it's easier in a way because if a kid is acting up, she can just mute them and then she doesn't have to worry about them. So it's nice in that aspect. But she definitely works a lot. And then my dad's been working a lot from home. He sometimes goes to the office they got better internet connection there, whatnot. My sister's been like working like crazy. She actually just signed her first lease like 2 days ago, so she's
Wow.
moving out within a couple of weeks, I think, after her second vaccine, and then she's an adult now.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but that's good to hear. I'm glad everyone is doing well. I'm curious on the education part because I mean, obviously, I haven't been in school for a little bit, and so do you think going forward it's going to be like half online, half like in person, or do you think once the vaccine and things? I mean, it's too hard to predict the future, but um, I don't know. Where do you think like it's going to be like going forward? Like,
Dude,
is
that's
it
a passionate topic of mine.
okay?
Oh,
You know
okay.
better than me, so
I mean, there's so much to unpack there because first of all, I think the whole education system needs a revamp. It needs something modernized. It needs something that's equitable for all people of all incomes, of all races. Um, and I think 2020 really pushed us to that future because we were forced to have such drastic changes in education. There had been online, school before, but not to the scale that suddenly, most of the U.S. is online and virtual, and it really, I think, progressed schools to give students access to online education because I know that my mom's students didn't have laptops or even Wi-Fi, like internet at all. So the fact that the school provided this for them and now they have an opportunity to be connected to the internet, it's unlocked huge opportunities. But going forward, I definitely think I was actually listening to a radio show yesterday, Michael Smerconish, where he was saying that colleges now have the ability to accept way more people than they deny. They used to be denying people because 80 years ago they could only fit so many people on a campus, but nowadays you don't need 100,000 people on campus. You can have half of them online if that's what they want to do because some kids are working nowadays. um, Having virtual education really is a flexible option for growing adults and whatnot. So the future, I definitely think, is virtual is included, but I also I want to see an education system where there's less homework, less reading, less sort of listening to a teacher ramble. I want to see more of a project-based approach where kids actually do things that has them creating something, and then once they create something, they can use that on their resume. They can use that even as like a if they want to grow their own platform, because I think social media is going to be huge in the future. Where like if can you imagine if you were in fifth grade or something, or even high school, and the project was to create a podcast, and that was like the English project, you would have gotten an invaluable experience from that, and you would have been able to take that, all the way to something you could have started this a long time ago, so um, it's just stuff like that where I think if we can incorporate modern technology with a learning system that we know works to a degree, and merge them together, I think we could have a real impact in the future.
Definitely. I agree pretty much with, I mean, with everything you said there. Cause I mean, it is an outdated system. And I think we were kind of, it was forced to be more tech heavy due to
Hmm.
the pandemic. But I think, yeah, I think less, I don't know. Cause I wasn't really that great at school. I mean, I guess stuff that didn't really interest me, it was just kind of like, whatever. But,
Exactly.
and,
Yeah.
it's, I don't know. I think the homework and stuff, like, it's valuable, but I don't know. I think I hope they crack down. They find a way to crack down and make it less busy work, and maybe more of a balance. So it's like you're kind of more excited, where it's like you're, say, working on a podcast or whatever, and whatever interests you, and then you're not as like bummed out about homework. I feel
Yeah.
like, I mean, balance is good, but who knows? Maybe I don't know when that will happen, but I think you have a great idea there. So,
Well, I mean, some
um,
things you're never going to get away from, like, um, or at least I think you couldn't get away from, like math. Kids were going to have to do some repetitive stuff to get their multiplication tables down, and stuff like that. But if you can incorporate it in some way that it's not just, like you said, busy work, where it's some sort of project that is fun and prepares them for the real world, because I see too often people say, like, yeah, my college degree didn't help me at all for this. Um, you know, like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean, I feel that with, I mean, I think it's good to go to school for college, and I'm glad you learn about more about yourself, and then you take, what you're doing. I mean, and I'm glad you're back in school too. I mean, we'll get into that, but it's, I don't know. I mean, your idea I think is great because, as you know, the work field is ever so competitive, just with positions trying to fit, it's pretty nuts. Like, with how many, I don't know, because I think our generation is so unique, where we were raised on principles of, a little of the old school, but also we were young enough in the thick of, like, the social media and tech, like the younger, the kids today, they have all these apps and stuff already. It's like we kind of were, like, I remember we were in high school when Instagram first came out, um and we were playing outside, and I don't know, I just think like our age group is very, like, unique, because we're, like, very, I don't know, but I guess that's what everyone will say growing up, like.
Well, I think you're right, and I think it's a clash of cultures and clash of different time eras. Uh, Even our parents' generations, they grew up with VHS and record players and Walkmans and obviously like newspapers and stuff. And we grew up in an era that was, I would say, just after the internet was really taking off, whereas sort of making a heyday, and it's even evolved since then. And I was actually listening to something the other day where someone suggested that there's been, well, two eras of the internet, and there's a third one that's emerging right now. So the first era was when really like social media first took off with like MySpace and stuff. And it was, the internet back then was a sort of centralized um like entity that was controlled by a few major players. Um now it's in the second generation where so many different people have different stakes in the internet. So like you can go to Instagram, you can go to Facebook, you can go to YouTube. Even though they're sort of their own brands, they're still owned by a single entity, which is evolved from the first generation of the internet. But the next generation of the internet, some are saying the third internet 3.0, they're saying is basically sort of like a blockchain type internet where it's decentralized, but it's which means less government oversight, which means all these different things. But I just think it's interesting how the different time eras influence our culture in the present, and the internet that we know now is going to be much different from the internet in the future, and how that affects our perception of reality and stuff like that. So
I think you're right. Isn't that just so fascinating now? Like it's crazy. Um, are you familiar with NFTs at all in like the digital art space? I mean, I'm not,
non-fungible tokens, I was
yeah,
actually thinking about them this morning. Yeah.
dude. I mean, I don't have enough knowledge on it to like talk deeply about it, but I'm so fascinated with that because there's artists and people like you can like buy moments, right? Like in like
Yeah, I
sports.
mean, I'll give you the like schmodown of what I know. Basically, like for example, the poster behind you is a thing that has value to you. It's not unique because there's multiple copies of it. But if it was the only one in the world, you'd be the only one in the world to have that poster. Now, take Minecraft, for example, where you can build a whole virtual world. And if you had a virtual house and you wanted to like decorate your house, you could buy an NFT of that poster, and you'd be the only one in the world that had it. And because of its rarity, it would increase in value if a lot of people wanted it. There's some NFTs that are like $2 and no one's really gonna buy. But like Jack Dorsey's first tweet, I think it's at auction for 2.5 million right now. Um, and so you can keep that NFT. It'll be yours like a digital. I mean, we're going into a digital world. We're going into like a world where it's very sci-fi, and it's hard for us to imagine right now because we're still very much in reality. But I think once like virtual reality becomes more prominent, and even like you might have in the future, there might be like goggles or something that project holograms and stuff, and you can see that people will have these NFTs on them, and it'll sort of be like a, I don't know if a sign of respect, but you know, if someone gets, or way back when someone got the newest brand of Jordan sneakers, they're like, oh, that's sick. So in the future, I think an NFT is gonna be something like, oh, he got that NFT, like that's tight. And it's just taking off right now. So if you find something that is, cool and you think has potential value, I would recommend trying to invest in it. I'm still trying to find out how to do that exactly, but
Me too. I'm learning about it, and I mean that's all just it's crazy. It's fascinating. It's I don't know. It's changing the game. I mean, there's artists, that there's this artist named Ferocious. He's like a 17-year-old kid. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, but he did like cover art for my friend Tim Buds, and like he's like a really talented artist, and he's selling like his art pieces online for like anywhere from like $2,000 to like $100,000 just because they're so unique and it's like, dude, what? And like,
yeah.
there's other, a lot of these artists are just like they're making a lot of money on these NFTs, and one of someone I know, they sold one and they sold it for an Ethereum, which is like a form of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, what? That's crazy. I mean, I don't know. And even with Dogecoin too, like I saw that the hold the line. I saw that the Mavs that Mark Cuban was like, yeah, we're gonna start accepting Dogecoin as um payment, or it's like what?
Yeah.
But it's crazy. I mean, at first I thought it was called Dogcoin because of the dog pictures everyone was posting.
I thought it was doggy because it's like dog e, like a virtual dog. So that's why I was
right.
like, it's doggy coin, but it's Doge
Yeah,
apparently.
that's It's all fascinating stuff, and I think we could talk about it for hours. But I think I want to get more into personal stuff with you. Tra- Transition, I think, is a really unique topic for you right now because
It is.
for those that may not be familiar, Nick here, he created an Instagram account called the Holotron where he would post these. I'm not even sure how to describe it, but
Concept art, really.
these sci-fi concept arts that were just awesome, like just so cool. But recently he transitioned into making that more of his personal page because he's working on a book that he's been working on. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but um, I guess I want to hear more about like how this transition has impacted you and just what made you want to do that. Because I mean, I'm sure it hasn't been easy. Like people are probably like, "Yeah, we're unfollowing you. Like, forget you." Blah blah blah. So I guess start with that.
So I'll start from the beginning. It started in 2013 when I traveled to a little place called Buffalo, New York, and
Oh,
never come up in the scene where there's so many people, at least that you were around, that were investing their time in social media accounts that had a lot of followers and wasn't necessarily about them, but they posted things that they wanted to. Like we had a friend that did Earth pics, right, and like U.S. history and just like a bunch of other things that had like millions of followers. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Back then, I saw Instagram as a way to validate yourself with likes and stuff, and I wanted to get into that scene. So I think maybe in 2015 I actually purchased the account for like $200, and it only had like 20,000 followers at the time. And I don't remember what it was posting before, but I knew that at the time I was working on a series that was based in science fiction, and I knew that once my book was complete, I would be marketing it towards people that have an appreciation for science fiction and, just kind of out there concept arts of robots and aliens and like strange worlds, sort of fantasy like. So I started posting a bunch of concept art from different really talented artists, and there would be like aliens and just cool cyberpunk vehicles and weapons and stuff. And I did that for like 6 years. I would post three times a day, and I think I got to like 100, almost 160,000 followers, which was really crazy. But then I started realizing something as I've gotten older and evolved. The only way I can really equate it to is when an actor who isn't really well known when they first come on the scene and they star in something that just defines them for the rest of their career. Like, for example, Daniel Radcliffe. No one knew who he was before Harry Potter, but now after Harry Potter, if you see him in any other movie, you'll always think of him as Harry Potter, or even Rupert Grint, or even I think Daisy Ridley. She wasn't really known before, but now anything that you see her in after is most likely she's just going to be Rey from Star Wars. So they kind of build themselves into a hole where they're just known for that one thing. Similarly, my account sort of built me into a hole where I wasn't the face of it, and I amassed a bunch of people that weren't. They were followers, but they were more just like I don't. They weren't. There, I think there's a difference between having a following that is loyal and really respects and tries to engage with what you put out. And then there's a difference between the type that I had, which was sort of just observing for, just for fun. And I wanted this type, but at the time when I first started, I didn't know that there is this different type of attraction on Instagram. So I write young adult books and picture books for kids. And as I've been talking with agents and different like writing coaches over the years, they've told me that I need to somehow transition my account where, people know who I am and they know what I'm doing and they know what I can offer for other people, and, just really like who I am as a person. And it just seems so overwhelming because to stop a freight train of 160,000 people and just turn pretty drastically a different way, um, is no easy undertaking. And so I sort of just stopped posting for about 6 months, and I sat down. I'm like, okay, how am I gonna do this without offending the people that I, have garnered support for, but get more people that I think would fit more of my ideal audience. So I made my own brand logo. I've thought about what I'm good at, which is writing, and what I'm passionate about, which is the environment, and just sort of like my personality, because I think sometimes I have a good personality. I don't know.
You have a good
And
personality.
thanks, man. And I was figuring out ways that I could be engaging with my old audience, but also transitioning into people like book readers and bloggers and vloggers and just really hardcore readers. Because in today's literary world, um, most readers will read maybe 1 to 2 books a year. And that's like the devout readers. That the like really hardcore readers, they can read up to like 12 or 50 even books a year. So your market is very small because not many people are reading books at all nowadays. So in order to grab those people, you have to find out what attracts them. And so I've been trying to incorporate that in my new account. Um, and so far it's been better than I thought. It's a lot harder than I thought because I'm not used to sort of being this presented as an, I guess you would say, an influencer, but I'm not really an influencer, but I'm presenting my page as if I was. Um, so it's hard posting consistently with quality content, and not all my content is really jumping out at people. And some content is, so I'm learning of what is working, what's not. And I'm also dealing with a lot of well, not fans, but people that followed me before that were I wouldn't say they were diehard supporters, but they definitely followed me for one reason, which was for the concept art. And I've gotten some mean comments, but over the years I've gotten used to that. So I just keep pushing along and hoping that it works out.
That's amazing. I think it's I think it's really good that you did that, because I guess kind of what when you're talking about agents and other, because you got to put a name to a face, right? And that's probably what they're probably telling you, because so then you'll have leverage, like, oh, like you have, I mean, I hate to say it, but the following, having followers means a lot in today's world, and that may be able to help you get a deal or leverage something where, I don't know, it just helps. So it's very courageous to like have to do that complete 360 shift, on the account. So I applaud you. As soon as I noticed that, that's when I was like, yep, this is when it's time to do this podcast, because it's been obviously long overdue. But um, when you switched the account though, has any of the negative comments, has that really gotten to you at all? Because I'm curious, because like I'm not, this show isn't big enough to the point where I'm getting hate comments like that. It's just all a small community. It's not like anything drastic.
I think I developed sort of a thick skin a couple of years ago when, like I said, I started social media, or at least the Holotron, with the fact that I thought it could validate me. So I would post like 3, even sometimes 5 times a day. I didn't understand really how Instagram worked, and I would get really mad when I wouldn't get enough likes, or when a certain thing that I thought was cool would, you know, blow up, but then another thing that I thought was cool didn't blow up. And I would like get mad at myself. I'm mad at other people. I'm like, why don't you guys like this? Like, I didn't know there's an algorithm or anything like that. Um, but then I started realizing that posting on social media can really take you down a sewer drain if you let it, because um, I feel like Instagram has evolved to a place where you expect people to sort of praise you. It's like you're getting your one shining moment on a TV screen, and it's like, okay, now throw me some flowers. You know, that's what you people might expect, but at the end of the day, what it really should be is just an extension of yourself. It should be an expression of yourself, where you're sharing with people who you are as a person, what you value, what you think is cool, happy moments, some knowledge that you might know. And if people respond to it, then that's great. And if they don't respond to it, it's not something to, you know, burn yourself for. It's something to learn from and say, okay, well, this isn't working. Maybe I'll try this next time. And when I've gotten some mean comments over the years. And at first it really did affect me, but um, I first of all, it's virtual. So it's a lot easier to say things to people that you're not like up in their face with, and you don't really even see a face at all. Um, so I take that into account, and then I also think about the other person, because for them to, I think I learned this from Gary Vee, where he said for them to take the energy, the time of their day to, you know, exercise their fingers and enrage their thoughts to send something that is not positive your way, without something that could, there's a difference between like just hate and then criticism. But if they're just sending hate, then you know, you got to feel bad for them, because that's on them. That's something that's personal to them that they need to fix within themselves. But if they send you some criticism, like hopeful criticism, like your content sucks, which, you know, is obviously not the great. But if they say like, if you did this instead, then that's like a conversation you can have with someone. But if someone's just saying, go die, um, I I didn't plan on doing that today, so I can't do that. So, you know, I just kind of push it aside. But
Well, you were on a good train of thought, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but you said one shining moment.
I was
It's
literally
all
thinking,
on the line. The ball is tipped. It is March, so I mean, I
oh
haven't
yeah,
been into college basketball this year, and I'm kind of like easing into it. So
didn't
I
you have it
immediately
last
thought of
year?
that. I'm like, yes,
Was it
but
canceled last year?
the tournament.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be played in Indianapolis. Like they're
No,
not.
but last year was it canceled?
Yeah, they canceled it.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
They're doing like
Yeah,
limited
that's funny.
fans.
As I was saying one shining moment, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot.
That's my
Those of
song.
you that don't know, it's because at the end of each college basketball March Madness tournament, I think it's CBS, they have a song called "One Shining Moment" that they play for the winner, and Ryan would always sing it whenever we were younger, and it was just like his little go-to song. It was so funny.
It would motivate me. Like I love like I would try to have.
It was funny
That's
because when you think of a motivational song, you might think of like, at least for me, like a rap song or something that gets you really hyped. And Ryan would be like, no, this song hits me in my core. And it's like filled with like falsettos and trumpets.
that I guess that makes a lot of sense now. I mean, this song right here has been my go-to like podcast hype song. Uh, it's called "A Little Less Conversation." It's Junkie XL, who's like a compose,
Oh
like
yeah.
he does scores for like
Yeah.
doing the new Zack Snyder's Justice League. But
Yeah. Oh,
anyway,
I've heard this before.
yeah, it's a it's a nice little rhythm. But
Yeah.
go into the Gary V thing. Let me just turn my phone back off. I love, well, first of all, I love Gary V, and I that's like probably one of my favorite things he's ever said. Like just like you got to be in a really dark place to just send hatred towards somebody, you know.
Yeah.
And even if you're not feeling it, I mean, it's like, yeah, I really liked what you said about all that. But I want to talk about this book series you've been working on. I mean, personally, I know you've been working on it for a while. I know it's hard, hard to when you're creating something, like it's hard to like open up and tell people about it because they obviously don't understand what you're bringing, from your mind to life. And you don't ever want to like hype something up to the point where it's like, oh yeah, my book's dropping next year, and then you create this expectation, and then you create a deadline on yourself and create all this pressure. But how is that going along? I mean, any details you want to share? The process about it? I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm sure the audience would love to hear as well.
Yeah, it's a process unlike anything I've ever done, man. It's like the hardest thing in the world um, that I've ever tried to do. It's not the hardest thing ever. I think the hardest thing ever might be like solving racism or um, which I think is easier than it appears to be, but that's another topic. So I think it was just after 2013, so maybe like 2014, when I was sitting in my bed one night and I just sort of had this epiphany, and I was like, I'm gonna write a book series. I had no idea what it was gonna be about or what was gonna happen. I just knew that I was gonna write a book series. And slowly, I think from 2014 to maybe 2000, really 19, no, 2020 really. It was always sort of an idea, and I had a rough outline of the series and different books, but I never really got to actually writing it. But when the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, there's no better time. I have so much free time than to just start writing now. So I started writing the first book, I think in like April of last year, and I finished it uh, maybe like July or August. And like that alone was super hard, but it was also a lot easier now that I'm on the second book, because the first book is honestly the one that I had the most vision, as they would say. Um, that I had like the biggest ideas of what I wanted the story to be like. So it was easy for me to sort of, go from chapter to chapter, scene to scene, plot point to plot point, and be like, okay, so I'm here. I need to get here. How am I going to do that? Um, so at the time it was hard, but compared to the second book, which is I think so total there's 7 books. I've sort of paced it similar to Harry Potter, and because Harry Potter has 7 books, and the second book is the one that I never really knew what was going to happen. Like I know I have certain plot points in my head of what's going to happen in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh book, and I have ideas of how to get there. But the second book itself was not something that I really ever knew what was going to happen. But I knew it was important, and now that I only have like one more chapter actually of it. Now that I've basically finished it, I know that it's huge in the book because it's sort of similar to Captain America Civil War, where you have the two different factions of Iron Man and Captain America. Iron Man wants sort of this government control and oversight, and Captain America still wants the power in his hand. Similarly, sort of, in my book, there's one person that wants, so how do I explain it? Basically, there's a group of people that are devout followers of this religion, and they think that that religion entitles them to um, sort of live above other people, or be close to perfect, or that it is the way, as the Mandalorian would say. um, but then there's other people that are like, no, you guys are so extreme in your beliefs that um, you're being blinded by like what it is to live normally. And I've sort of taken that from religion of today, where you have some people that are just like huge sort of fanatic religious believers, and then you have other people where it's like, well, you don't have to be perfect. You can make mistakes, and you don't have to, um, you know, kill yourself over a sin, or messing up one time, because I think that's been a big part of my life, at least growing up, where I was sort of brought up to believe that you have to be perfect all the time, and if you make a mistake, then you are not living the way of God and whatnot. And so I've tried to incorporate those themes into a science fiction adventure. Um, I think the biggest influences for the second book, at least, are from Civil War, Captain America, and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, my favorite Harry Potter film. Um, and yeah, I mean, basically the whole series itself is something that's, I think, is so freaking cool because are you familiar with Destiny, the video game?
Not so much, no.
It's like it's so imagine like Star Wars meets Harry Potter, because I would say it's based in science fiction, but it has magic and stuff in it. But the like design elements of Destiny and the just the whole aura of it is so fascinating. And I think in 2014 I saw the first commercial for it, and it was called what was it called? The Law of the Jungle. And it had this hunter in a cloak with a hood and this super cool mask. And from the moment I saw that, I was like, that's my main character. And so from there, I sort of just started building and building. And yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about my books, but um, at the end of the day, I think it's something that I think it's going to take a while to finish because I'm only on book 2. And my plan is to finish all 7 books before I even publish the first one, because um, it's one of those series where the beginning is the end and the end is the beginning. So I really have to make sure that leading up to book 7, all the different Easter eggs and stuff make sense. Because I know that for what's her name, J.K. Rowling, when she started Harry Potter, she said it would have been a lot easier if she would have written all 7 books and then sort of maneuvered where she needed to make the flow better and whatnot. And I'm sure even Kevin Feige would say that if he had the chance to write all 22 movies beforehand, it would have been really compelling. But then again, the way that he's constructed the Marvel Universe has been really fun because he kind of just builds upon each different story and movie. And but the way that I'm approaching my books, at least, is that I'm gonna do an outline and then see where it goes from there.
Wow. Wow is an understatement. 7-book series. That, I mean, you don't hear many people, or like really anyone at all, that have that type of ambition. And I mean, your writing has always been like top notch. And I mean, I don't know, I have so many questions, but it's just like, I mean, your world building, you have a vision board, right? Where like you kind of just write out everything, and I don't know, that's
Yeah,
all
I did.
fascinating. And
Well,
I mean,
I can get into my writing process if you want.
that'll be my next question. But as I'm saying, I mean, before we move on, I want to say is I can't wait to be at the movie premiere. That's
Well, I
going to
hope
be.
that's the plan, man.
It sounds like it's going to be. It has potential to be a, something in film, but that's obviously you gotta.
Definitely cinematic the way that I approach it. Yeah.
So, but that's oh man, I'm excited for you. That's so. But that the patience that it takes, like, because obviously not every day you wake up, you're like, oh, I have this grand idea. And how, it's like, what's the process been like? Like the writer's block, like how frustrating is that? Like,
The writing process.
yeah,
To be honest, I don't really get writer's block because um, this whole world has been in my head for so long that I know the steps to overcome a writer's block. So the way that I approach my stories is it actually stems from you, Mr. Pod, because a couple years ago, you were really into movie scores, and I thought it was the strangest thing. I'm like,
Still am.
well, yeah, obviously, but I would be like, why would you want to listen in your car to like a song from a movie? Not a song, but like an actual, cello and there's bass and stuff from a movie with no words and rock out to it. And I was like, that just seems sort of out there. But then, I love movies. So obviously when I first tried it, I was like, oh, this is a different reality, man. I'm on the astral plane. And I was you showed me some of your stuff. I was like, dude, this is sick. So then I started experimenting with my own stuff where I, gathered a different songs from different movies that I enjoyed, like Star Wars and Indiana Jones and stuff. And when you're listening to a song or a score from a movie, you can sometimes remember the exact moment that it's used in the movie, but the way that I use it is I sort of take the flow of the song and I approach it as someone within my book. So at the beginning, like you said, I did have a vision board and I had a lot of notebooks, and I still do. But I noticed over time that it was really wasteful and quite honestly unorganized, because I would have, chapter 7 in this purple notebook, and I would have my main character's flaws in this notebook, and it was just like jumbled all over the place. So I think really in the past couple of months, really, I've ventured into all digital. So I have different apps that organize my different chapters, my different characters, my world, which is honestly one of the hardest things in the world, because building an entire world from scratch is not as easy as you would think.
No, it sounds very hard.
One of my biggest complaints with movies or even books is that the world feels too similar or too on the nose from something in our world. And when I go to these different movies or read different books, I want to be transported to a world that I don't know, but yet subtly is still familiar. But so one of the things that I've taken really seriously in my books is that I try to create things that make sense for the world. So like, for example, it's something that like a restroom, for example, like in our world, it's obvious what a restroom would look like, but in a science fiction world, what would that look like? In the future, from 200, 300 years from now, a bathroom is going to look a lot different than a bathroom of today. A bathroom 200 years ago looked a lot different. They, use little holes in the ground. They use leaves and whatnot. They use the poop shacks. And nowadays there's like heated seats, heated toilets. So it's thinking of stuff that's now, but transporting it to way into the future, but still making it, understandable for today's people. So that's one of the hard things with world building. But getting back to the scores, when I'm assembling the different plot lines, like the beginning, the middle, the end, which is not as simple as just the beginning and the middle, the end, because there's actually, depending on what method you use, there can be up to 12 different plot points where you have a hook, then you have the key event, then you have the inciting event, then you have the midpoint, then you have the, and on and on. There's all these different writer jargon that can be overwhelming. But what I do is I use the scores to sort of, I guess, sonically envision my story. So when I'm in my car, I'll play like my first book. I have a whole playlist of each scene. Each scene has a different song from a movie that I use as inspiration, to sort of set the tone and the mood of what the scene is going to entail. So, for example, actually, well, I don't want to give that away. um, so the first book is really uses a lot of scores from Chronicles of Narnia. Because like, dude, honestly, that's like one of my favorite scores of all time. What's his name? I think James. No, it's not. Harry Robertson Williams or something like that. It's the composer, and his scores are so magical, yet triumphant, yet powerful, yet tender. And that's really what I wanted the first book to sort of feel like, at least for as a writer, when you're stuck on, like you said, writer's block. It can be really hard if you don't have some inspiration, or if you're not transported to that world to think of, okay, well then how am I going to get past this little hurdle? But if you have that music, at least for me, ideas just start flowing, and and you sort of figure a way around it. And specifically for writer's block, one thing that I always found works every single time, it just takes a lot of time, is that you have to think about what it is that you're stumbling over. So if you're stumbling over something that, for example, if a character is in an elevator and the power's out and you need a way for the story to progress forward, and you don't know how, what you do is, I learned this from Andy Weir, the writer of The Martian. He said, you got to put the pen to paper and you got to start writing, because you can visualize it all day, but if you actually just start writing out your thoughts and working through what you know of the world, what you know of the character, what is in the elevator, what happened before, where you're supposed to go, you can start picking out things that could help the character. So if they're stuck in an elevator, you could think about the character's talents, or what are their abilities. Are they super flexible? Could they go through the elevator shaft? You could look at what weapons they have, or what planet they're on, whatever. You just got to think about the bigger picture, and that's really how I go through writer's block. I go on and on, so stop me whenever you want.
Shut up. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's crazy. That's I mean, I feel like writer's block is a very easy excuse that writers can use. It's like, oh, I don't have, but if you're able to work through it, I think it's great that you don't have that. I mean, I feel like it's just something that holds you back, right? And it's just not. If you're able to overcome the obstacle, then I mean, especially when you're working on such a large project, like that you're working on, it's you don't really have, you can't spend, it'd probably be very frustrating to go weeks and months or days without being able to work on it.
Well, don't get me wrong. I don't get writer's block, but I do get writer's fatigue. And that fatigue comes from knowing what it takes to get through a writer's block. So, I mean, I guess in a sense, I do get writer's block, but it's not like I'm stumped. Like, I know the process to get past it. It just takes a lot of energy and effort and a lot of like critical thinking, to figure a way around it, because it's not as simple. I always equate it to sort of exercising. When you're exercising and you have a beginning, a middle, and end of a workout, you know what the next step is because it's right in front of you. You know that if you need to run 10 miles, you just have to keep running. If you get tired, you can stop, but it's not like you're stumped as a writer is, because the challenge is apparent. It's clear. It's obvious that in order to complete your workout, you just have to put one leg in front of the other, breathe, and you maybe get some water, and keep going, keep pushing yourself. But in writing, it's different, because it's not like you can just keep writing. You have to figure out what you're writing about. You have to figure out just so many variables. And as for someone that's really visual, that can be hard. But if you just stick to the process, um, every time it's worked for me. It takes a lot of effort and critical thinking to get there.
Most definitely. I mean, I think great things aren't built overnight. So, I mean, it's I'm sure it's quite the process. So,
It is.
there's a method to the madness. That was some really good stuff. If anyone is a writer out there, definitely reach out to Nick and NickyV and talk to him. Just it's always good to connect with others on similar topics. So, I'm curious. This is these next topics are things that we very closely share, passion for. I want to hear your thoughts on the WandaVision series, because I know as a writer, I'm sure you appreciate the storytelling, but I'm also curious to hear your thoughts. Like, we were texting, and you mentioned that I'm not going to put words in, but it seemed like that you weren't really a fan of the finale. So, what are your thoughts on the show, and just what maybe didn't stick the landing with you?
First off, I gotta say, WandaVision. First off, I don't really like TV shows in general because, like I've stated, I like to be sort of transported into the world that they're creating. And a lot of different TV shows in the past haven't had the budget to make the show or the world believable, where I'm really critical of like flaws in the CGI or acting that isn't that real. So for WandaVision to like blow me away, it was a high bar, but to be honest, it did for the most part, because it was storytelling like I've never really seen before. It'd be easy for Kevin Feige or the creators of the show to have, spoiler alert, to have had Wanda and Vision, sort of the origin of the show, start at the beginning. It would have been really easy to show Wanda just after Endgame, wanting to see Vision. It would have been really easy for them to start from there. But to start from like mid show, really, in the own world, not understanding what's going on with the whole black and white thing, it made it really interesting and compelling. And so I think the whole series, just the concept as a whole, is something that like is right up my alley, because I feel like I like something that's sort of offbeat and just really out there. But they pulled it off for the most part. The part that I had a problem with was the ending, because I did my best, to be honest, not to get my hopes up or not to follow too many theories, because I feel like when you start
Mephisto,
when you start listening to all these different YouTubers suggesting or pointing out little Easter eggs, it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. Maybe they're plotting something, because in the past they have, for the most part, like, they're in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, when Captain America is interrogating one of the Shield agents, and the guy goes, "Oh, well, there's a lot of people on our watch list, blah 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 blah," and he mentions Doctor Strange, and like, there's all these little Easter eggs in the past movies that eventually led up to really Infinity War and Endgame. And so for fans of comics in general to see WandaVision and have just like just a junk load of Easter eggs and little hints and stuff, it's like, well, clearly they're heading towards something. But then for them to sort of like not do that, it definitely, my expectations were not met, because it was my fault, really. I was believing all these theories, and I was like, oh, that would have been so cool. Like, I was really hopeful that who's the sword guy again? Hayward,
yeah.
Yeah, I thought that he was going to be Ultron, because
That
in
would
the
have been
comic
epic.
he melted into like an old man or whatever. I'm like, oh, that would have been cool, because Ultron, we never actually saw Ultron die. We only saw a flash of light behind a tree. And so and Ultron is honestly one of my favorite characters, because he looks so cool. And even though I don't necessarily agree with the title of the movie Age of Ultron, it'd be more like the 24 hours of Ultron, but which is why if they would have had Ultron in this, series, it really would have been an Age of Ultron, because it would have been like 6 or 7 years, at least in the MCU. But so that was that. And then another thing is with the finale is that it did seem rushed. But then when I think you sent me a link of as to why it appeared rushed, it's because of the pandemic and scheduling conflicts, and the fact that if they pushed the series back, then it would have, or delayed the ending, then it would have pushed back Winter Soldier and really the whole MCU slate for this year. So from that, I was like, okay, they did their best. But I mean, there's a lot of things that in the show, in the finale at least, that didn't resonate with me specifically.
Who's been messing up everything? It's been Agatha all along. I thought her character arc was I the way I well, I think those are all great points. I think what really had me so hooked on WandaVision, probably a lot of people, was they did such a balance of the cliffhanger ending with the WTF is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I definitely didn't notice that, I mean, they could have took the easy route, but they decided to go kind of in the middle and then work their way backwards and then forward. And I don't know, it was really well done. To me, the finale was awesome, just like because it was so fast paced, just like it was like it's like kind of what you're waiting for, because the show started very slow and then like it just picks right up, and then like Vision comes in like 2 minutes in, and it was all fun and all that. But I guess the one thing that kind of did rub me the wrong way was the whole Fietro thing. Like,
Oh yeah.
Evan Peters was just Ralph Boner, but which is funny, but like, it's like, I think we're going to see more payoff of what happened in WandaVision later as time goes on, whether it's referenced in Loki or, it's Doctor Strange 2, Spider-Man 3, well, Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
So I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Very interesting, because originally in the slate, Falcon and Winter Soldier were supposed to come first, and then WandaVision, and actually Doctor Strange 2 is supposed to come directly like 2 months after, I believe.
Yeah.
And
2021 May, I think, right? Or something
but
like
they
that.
kind of had to shift everything around, and so I mean, I think we're gonna get payoffs, and maybe, who knows? Maybe in Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, um, Evan Peters comes back and he's like, yeah, this guy's really who he is. It's not, that was just, I don't know. Who knows what they have up their sleeve, but um it I thought it was a fun journey. The finale, there's some parts of it that were just definitely like, yeah, all right. But like seeing her in the full costume was awesome. And just
Shout out to
the whole
Ironhead
like
Studios on that.
Incredibles team up moment was cool.
Yeah.
But um
I I wanted to comment that when you're what they teach us in storytelling is that you write a beginning, a middle, and an end, but then you cut off the beginning and you start the story right in the middle, which is I think exactly what WandaVision did. And then throughout the story you come back to the beginning, so that way it gives a cryptic nature to the story and it keeps people interested. And I think that's what WandaVision did perfectly. And you said it was a little slow, and I could see how it was a little slow, but honestly, I loved it for what it was. And then in the begin and at the finale, it did seem rushed. I don't think they needed an extra episode, but I do think they needed a little bit more time, and it makes sense as to why you sent me that link, because they just ran out of time, so they kind of had to just jumble what they had together. And I think hopefully in the future, I hope they release like the extended version of it or something, because I think it'd be really good for the show as a whole, sort of like a cap mark, a bookend of it, to have it for what it was meant to be.
yeah, I hope so. I mean, I know they did that with Mandalorian for like
Yeah,
almost
yeah, they did with
2
Mandalorian. Yeah,
so
it's not
we'll
like
see.
impossible. Like they're doing the Snyder cut now, so let's get the Feige cut.
We'll talk about the Snyder Cut in a minute, but what's your excitement level for Falcon and Winter Soldier? Because that's literally coming next week, and I've seen some tweets that people are like, yeah, the action is epic, and it's going to be obviously a very different show, but I think it's going to be cool because it's supposedly set, right after Endgame, and Endgame was what 2025, so it's going to definitely be a little more futuristic, but also the action looks awesome. And I don't know, I'm just curious to see Bucky without having Cap to lean on him,
Yeah.
and then Sam just kind of being more of a leader, So
Yeah. I'd say my excitement level is low
yeah,
because, but to be honest, my excitement level for WandaVision was low too. But when they were doing the marketing for WandaVision, I was like, okay, it seems interesting, but like, I'm not too excited about it. But as I started watching, I'm like, okay, this is sick. But I think it's different for Winter Soldier and Falcon because WandaVision was a very cryptic show. Like, and I don't know if Captain or what's it called, the Winter Soldier and Falcon the Winter Soldier is going to be as mystical as that because obviously it doesn't have anything to do with magic. At least I think. And then also, I don't know, something about Sam Wilson as Falcon has never really like budged me in the right way. And I don't, it's not like him as a person because I do like his other shows. Like I loved him in 8 Mile when he got destroyed. But he I don't know, something about his, it feels like he's forcing to be funny sometimes. Um, but I guess we'll see. Like I do love his character, the Falcon, and his Red Wing and all this stuff. And I do like Bucky. I just don't really know where they're going with the show. So I guess we'll have to see. I'm definitely gonna watch it though. Don't get me wrong.
oh, me too. I'm like not excited, but I'm more curious. Like I think I hear you though. The Falcon character doesn't really excite me, but his new costume looks sick. So it's like, okay, now you're a little more, because when he first was introduced, it was just a wingsuit with some guns, and then he kind of slowly. But his new suit looks very high tech and awesome. But we'll see. I mean, from my understanding, it looks kind of like a buddy cop comedy, but like with high intense sequences of action. Because
Yeah.
Marvel, I think, recently released that it's going to be their most violent property, and I think it has a TV rating of 14 or whatever, which is like
Wow.
slightly below the mature audience thing. So it's going to be, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the storytelling are, because I've heard reports and rumors that um, the show might have his, like, because the show, the government makes this new version of Captain America. It's just like a secret agent
That
Walker
great
or
or
whatever.
Captain Britain or whatever.
Yeah, no, Agent Walker. He's just like a government agent, and they make him a Captain America suit. Because the report I've seen is like the show will show aspects of the modern world where how like they're saying how unaccepting the world will be, if when Falcon, is a black Captain America. Like it's going to be very real in that aspect, and to a degree. I don't know how, but they said it's going to be. I don't know. I mean, I have faith in Kevin Feige and the folks over there. They always deliver. So, but let's talk about the glorious Snyder Cut, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I gotta say, man, it's been a very long time since I've felt like excited and hyped to watch like a movie. Maybe because I guess we haven't really had any big like comic book movies, due to the pandemic. But like I am just
They
like
had Wonder
so
Woman.
yeah. Oh, we know. Life is good, but it could be better. It was fine, but
I
like
actually haven't seen it yet, but yeah.
I, how I normally like all of them for the most part. That probably was one of my least favorite ones that I've seen. Maybe I need to rewatch it, but
Oh,
I mean,
really?
Pedro Pascal, whatever, he was awesome in it. Obviously, but as I don't think you will appreciate it even probably as much as I did, even though I didn't really like it. Just like the storytelling element of the movie is very cheesy and not there.
Hmm.
So, but I watch it. I would watch it because Gal Gadot is awesome.
Yeah,
But
I'm hesitant about Kristen Wiig because she's like a comedic actor and she has a very villainous role. So, but yeah, I'll check it out sometime. But yeah, dude, Zack Snyder, I'm pretty hyped for this movie.
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm one for as a, as a writer yourself, like it's probably very exciting because it's like to see someone's vision actually come to life, and like get a second chance is like like part of the reason I bought that book is well, obviously this is a moment in history. Like this could change, you know, the way with the streaming services, but I'm just, I don't know. I'm just curious to see a non version of Steppenwolf that's like from a PlayStation video game. Someone that's here to conquer the world and is just chopping. And I don't know. It looks epic, and I don't know. I don't know what to expect really. I mean, I'm just excited to watch it. Like I'm excited to see Darkseid. I think I don't know how big of a role he has in the movie, but to see Darkseid is going to be really cool. But where you're, what are you looking forward to that? Or are you just kind of excited to see a big epic comic book movie for the first time in a while?
Don't know the power of the dark side.
So, first of all, I think one of the biggest blessings and curses of the Hollywood industry is the fact that so many hands are tied in a project. You have producers, you have executive producers, you have the director, you have the writers, you have, the CEOs of the studios and whatnot. You have all these stakeholders that you have to account for. And sometimes that all those different hands and helping hands, they amount to a really, really, really good movie. Endgame, for example, had a lot of hands in it, and it just turned out fantastic. On the other hand, you can also have a lot of hands in a project that don't represent what the artist, like the author, the director, the writers, what they wanted the show to be. So I think that was the case with this movie, well, the original movie, Joss Whedon. But there's a lot of drama, I think, that happened. I think Zach's daughter killed herself, you said, right?
Yes.
And so like there's a lot of different unfortunate things that happened. And I think you said in another podcast, or the other Ryan said that the executives wanted their bonus, so they just released what they had, which is unfortunate. But to be honest, when I first watched the movie, I didn't hate it. I thought it was quite entertaining, but I didn't have expectations for the movie, so maybe that's why. But to see an artist like Zack Snyder get his key to do what he wants with the characters that he helped form, it's really going to be interesting to see what he does with them, because he's really had unlimited range to do what he wants, I think. And I think it's going to be really, really, really compelling. That said, I don't think every artist that gets their own key to a movie is always successful, because I mean, for example, I never thought there could be a bad Star Wars movie. Actually, I really never thought there could be a bad like science fiction movie until I saw The Last Jedi. And that movie like really put me into a slump, because I don't know if like people understand, us moviegoers, we get so much expectation for certain franchises that we like, and then for the movie to just like not only not deliver, but like slap you in the face and then kick you down a hill. It hurts, man. So I'm optimistic about this movie. What I've seen looks really cool. All the different enhancements in the color grading and just the tone, and like the runtime, 4 hours. I think he has a lot of time to really mess around and get a triple double or something. So
get a triple double. I'm so Zack Snyder's on record saying that like Cyborg is the heart of the movie. Like I'm really, because like I think in Justice League, he got his Cyborg kind of got done dirty. Like he just kind of was just like there, So I think there's such a different backstory with him, like with him dying, so to speak, and his dad working on him, and his mother dying in that accident. And so I'm curious to see more, because he's actually like a really powerful character, that he can hack into the internet and all this different stuff.
He's super compelling too. I really liked how, I mean, I don't really know too much about him, but the way that he was presented in the original well, not the original, but the Justice League. I actually didn't have a problem with it, but I did want to see more of him. And I think if you said he's the heart of the movie for this one, then that's going to be awesome because I think he was my favorite character in the movie, at least.
Yeah, it's I'm curious just to see all the characters get more of like a backstory. Like for instance, like Aquaman, like in Snyder's original cut, like William Dafoe was supposed because you've seen Aquaman, right? Volko. William Dafoe plays Volko in Aquaman, and he was like that was supposed to be his intro into. So it's like there's more of an Atlantis aspect. There's more. I'm curious to see what the Flash does too. Like I think he's gonna have a little bit of like a time travel element to it. I don't know how, but I think he's gonna have more of a bigger role than just be kind of like a quirky, awkward jokester. I still
Yeah.
think he's gonna be awkward, but I think he's gonna like be more badass.
Yeah. By the way, his suit is like my favorite suit out of any superhero, to be honest.
Dude, it's so well done. But it's interesting. Man, I'm really sparked now because to be honest, I think The Last Jedi might be my favorite in like the new trilogy of Star Wars.
Really?
I don't know. It's aside from the random casino adventure, which I just was like, what the heck? I don't know. I really like the ambition of that movie. Just like seeing Luke Skywalker so bummy and just like depressed. I
Yeah.
thought that was a very interesting aspect, and I just love the ending when he's like, "See you around, kid," and he like schools him. Like I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I like the Force Awakens too, but like
There's a lot of different like nitty picky things that I didn't like about The Last Jedi. One is that they used in the final battle, they used slow-mo, which is only really used for like action movies, like cop movies or something. I don't know. It's really there to show something that's cool. But I think it can be overused where it just kind of takes away from the moment. And for me, when they use slow motion in the end, when Kylo Ren tries to slice what's his name, Luke Skywalker, and he like it goes like right over him. I was like, okay, come on, like you don't need to do that because
I thought that was awesome.
there's never been a slow motion in Star Wars before, so it just seemed out of character for that. And like another nitpicky thing is that in the scene with Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker when they're on crate and the lighting just seems so weird that I can tell it's a green screen, and like it's stuff like that that takes me out of the show because I know I'm watching a movie at that point. And there's like a lot of other things like the whole series as a whole, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker was not what George Lucas envisioned at all. Like originally his three what are they called, like sequels, I guess, was going to revolve around like sort of like a quantum world of the midichlorians, which is what Jedis use to harness the Force. And I was like, oh, that would have been so cool. But George Lucas got so much backlash from his prequels, with like, the Phantom Menace and all those, that he got so much hate that he was like, why would I make more movies if you guys are just going to hate it so much? So he sold it to Disney. And then he's like, here's what I have planned or had planned for the 7th, 8th, and 9th movies. And it'd be really great if you could like, do it. And the executives were like, oh yeah, like we'll consider it, yeah. And then of course they didn't even get anywhere close to it. And so I think it's a real sort of I don't know the word, but just it's sad that we never got to see George Lucas's full vision. But that said, I did like The Force Awakens. The Rise of Skywalker was like okay. I wish Colin Trevorrow's would have come out because that seems sick. Which, by the way, there's a new free comic book series run of the whole Colin Trevorrow thing, which is just awesome. If anyone wants to check it out. But then, yeah, The Last Jedi just like it was weird. especially the scene when her and Rey and Kylo are fighting the Praetorian guards of Supreme Leader Snoke. Dang, how did I know all those words? Like there's a video of someone breaking down each segment of the fight, and it's like straight from the get-go, one of the guards just stabs the floor for no reason, and then another scene has Kylo Ren kick one guard, but three of them fall back, and then there's like a bunch of other quirky things. It's like, okay, that was one of the worst fight scenes I've ever seen. But to be honest, I'll give The Last Jedi credit where it's due. Whenever I watch it, I still get like that same feeling I got when I went into the theater to watch it, where it's like this nostalgia of like it's a Star Wars movie. So I do appreciate that, and I have given Rian Johnson a lot of hate over the years because he really. I just want to have like a talk with him, like, why did you do these things? But I don't think it should have ruined his life.
No, he's a great director. Knives Out is a great movie.
Knives Out was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And even Kelly Marie Tran, I love her.
Shout out to Westview High.
Yeah, she went to Westview, local high school. And now she has her own movie, the Raya, the Last Dragon, which I want to check out, but I haven't, but I will. So yeah, I got to give credit where it's due.
I hear you. I mean, just the whole, can
you hear that?
Sort of, yeah, it's all good.
My dad.
What do you call it? It's this the whole aspect of Luke milking that creature's.
Yeah, that was weird.
That just captured everything for me. Now, I don't know. Last Jedi, there's obviously some parts of it I didn't like, but I don't know. At least from the I try not to pay attention too much to like the nitpicky stuff unless it's just that bad, or maybe I just don't have quite the eye for it. So it's like I just kind of like watch it at face value and just like soak it in. But
you know who got me to be so nitpicky?
Who?
Mr. Hall from Del Norte.
What a guy.
I never thought there was such thing as a bad movie until my junior year of high school, because we had like a whole section on, I think was it English class or something? I don't know.
That was one of my favorite classes I ever took, like in like high school, in school. Like that was a good class.
The sloth. He was awesome. But like I remember he dissected Avengers actually and Transformers, and he said why Avengers worked and why Transformers didn't. And I was like, you're wrong. Like Transformers was amazing, but it's because of my it's because of my like pubescent years where I thought like robots were cool and stuff, which I still do, but I was overlooking the whole like aspect of storytelling and stuff. But he really brought me onto the fact that you have to look at the different themes of movies and stuff, which can be a little boring, but it's just a part of me now, so I can't not look at it that way.
Hey, well, shout out to Mr. Hall.
Shout out.
But I think we're approaching 2 hours here. It's close to it.
Seriously?
Yeah. So this will be I think the longest episode to date. But I mean, we're, as I said when I introduced you,
break it up into 2 parts if you want.
Just part 1 and part 2. I might just have to do that, but yeah. we'll see. We'll see when we get the cut. But I mean, those are really all the topics I had for today.
Nice. I have a topic.
Oh, what's up?
I actually, since I'm your longest, I think friend. Well, actually, no. Maybe Theo was the longest friend you've had on the show. But I compiled some things that I think your followers, your listeners might appreciate. So there's 4 categories.
Oh boy!
And I'm gonna give you the option to pick which one you want to go with first. So we have most memorable Ryan moments, according to me. Most memorable Ryan quotes, most fun Ryan moments, or most admirable Ryan traits. So of those, what do you want to start with?
I guess let's go backwards the way you said it.
Oh, okay. So start with the traits.
Yeah.
All right. So these are the things that I think Ryan I've known Ryan since 6th grade.
Oh, boy.
And over the years, these are things that I think are the most fundamental features of a Ryan Poderski.
You know me,
Ryan Nicholas Poderski.
you know me really well. So I'm curious to hear this.
Number 3, starting at number 3, knowledgeable.
Oh,
Ryan is the most knowledgeable person about sports, about movies, about music that I've ever known. He knows like every player in the NBA, their stat line, their height. He knows every player in the MLB. He knows all the teams. He knows all the like crazy histories of sports. He's the one that inspired me to venture into like Hoodie Allen and all these different offbeat artists. And he's just like ridiculously knowledgeable when it comes to these things. And I don't think many people know that about him, but I always thought he would be like a sort of sports commentator because he just had that level of knowledge. So that's number 3. Number 2.
thank you.
You're welcome. Pure. I wrote pure. Not in a holy way.
Holy,
But
holy.
so what I wrote is he's pure because he's innocent, as in he's kind and shy with others. The number one trait of Ryan Poderski. Do you know? I'm curious.
You know what? I was kind of just freaking out. I think I missed number 2 because I thought I'd said recording pause. So I was like, oh shoot, did we just miss a hole? But then I hit the button and then it said recording pause. So I think
Start from number 2.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries. All right. So number 2, we got
minor production delay. I was very
technical
I was like crap. I like I'm like, did we just like miss like 30 minutes of an episode?
I mean, it'd be fine. We have like 2 hours. So number 2, I put you're pure, not in a holy way, but more that like not in a holy way. What I'm trying to say is that you're a very innocent guy. The way that you approach others, you're very shy and very thoughtful and whatnot. But then I also said that when you want to, you can blow a fuse. Like we've seen Red Ryan before, and like Ryan can go Hulk. So I wrote he's just a very wholesome person, very can always go with the flow. And the only word I could equate that with was pure. So that's that. And then I had some honorable mentions that you're very loyal because you're always there for your good friends, and that you're hilarious because you got to be like one of the funniest dudes because you do things and you say things that you don't even try to be funny, but you just are. So you're just hilarious. And then number 1, do you know what number 1 is? I'm curious. Your number 1 trait, according to me. I think I've told you before.
I can't put the tip of my tongue on it.
The word that I came up with was that you're personable. You can connect with anyone and anyone anywhere, which is why I think you're so good with this podcasting, because you're able to have a conversation with people that you don't know and just like connect with them. I said that here in San Diego and used to live here, you were the glue that really kept our friendship together with like our whole friend group. Because to be honest, I haven't reached out really to the old friends that we used to hang out with, which is, I'm going to try to do better, but you were really the glue, man. You're like the one that held us all together. So those are the top Ryan traits that I've come to know over the years. Now, moving up, we got the most fun Ryan moments. Now, this is more just stuff that I consider fun, like times that I've had fun with you. So obviously starting at number 3, obvious. Here, let's say it on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Do you know what it is?
Dude, there's like, I don't know. I feel like there's like 20 honorable mentions that we could.
I wrote USD basketball camp. It was one of the best like couple days of my life because first of all, we were roommates for I think like the first time in our life.
Go Aztecs.
Yep. And so we had a little friend. I won't mention any names, but
Take a shower.
yes, we had a couple like rascals that needed some definite shower time. And he, instead of taking a shower, he used Axe body spray to mask his scent. And we like gathered all our fellow basketball hoopers in our room, like blocked him out because he smelled so bad. And then you lost our card, our key card to get into the room. So we were homeless for like the first day. And then remember we got Dominoes and we
Yep.
put it in the dresser. So man, that was like one of the best times. Such a fun couple days. Number 2, it's really sort of 2 different things because I wrote Buffalo and San Diego. So the times that I've gone to Buffalo, like just out of the world fun, because for one, it's different from what I know. It's all green out there and flat. And like I'm in the household of the Podurskis. So it's always fun, the adventures we go on and whatnot. And then I wrote San Diego, not necessarily the time that you lived here, but more when you would come back to visit, and you would like, sleep in my room or whatnot, and we would just go do random things. Those are times that I thought were really, really fun. Like even when we went to the Lakers game,
That was
and
so fun.
had the box seats, and we saw our old friends and whatnot, and it was just a good time. So that's number 2. And number 1 of the most fun Ryan moments, I think anyone that is a friend of Ryan, at least that lived in San Diego can say this, is that you have the late night hangout sesh in the teen years at the Ryan household, because you never knew what was going to happen, whether it was games of NBA 2K, doorbell ditching, prank calling people, basketball 1v1s, because Ryan was always Kobe and I was always LeBron, and we would always have these games of 1v1, and we would see who won.
I think we played one game up to 100 once, right?
You were up like 80 and I had like 30, and I came back, but you still won. But I came back and it got pretty close. But I don't know. For those of you that don't know, Ryan is a master with the backboard. Like, dude just hits it off the top of the backboard, and it like most always goes in. And yeah, dude can hoop.
Thank you. I try to tell people that, like at work and stuff. And I'm like, I'll take anyone on in this company. I may not be good at bowling, but like, hey, I could beat anyone in basketball. I guarantee you.
You ever dunk? Didn't you dunk once?
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. No, I could get the rim, but like I never was able to.
I've touched rim, but I've never dunked.
It's hard. I mean, well, because my hands aren't that big, so I can't like palm the ball.
Boom. Yeah, I actually got big hands.
Yeah, I don't, unfortunately. I mean, they're like average, but the basketball, it's like.
Yeah. All right, so moving up, we got the most memorable Ryan quotes.
Oh boy.
These are, I actually had some different quotes, but I ran them by Theo yesterday. And he was like, "Bro, I don't know if you should say."
Hey.
So I cleaned it up a little. But honestly, these are still true. So at number 3, there's a time when I would go over to Ryan's house and I would stay for so long that it wouldn't be just like, we wouldn't just be doing fun things anymore. He would actually have to start doing some chores while I was there. So one time him and his dad were vacuuming, and like Ryan, like he was obviously like trying to mess with him, and he like just kept messing up and slamming the vacuum and like pretending he didn't know how to do it. And Bill just like ripped it away from him and said, "Just go to your room. I'll do it myself." And I'll never forget it, because Ryan went to his loft at the time, the game room, and I was outside of the room, and I just like peeked through the door, and Ryan's talking to himself like, "Well, you done it again, Ryan. You did it again. Look what you done." Like, you're just talking to yourself. I'm like, is this what Ryan does? And I never forget that because it just sums up Ryan perfectly. Like he refers to himself in the third person. All right, so that's number 3. Number 2, it's the time that I really knew that Ryan was going to be a good friend of mine, because in 6th grade I had another friend that we got in an argument, and he kind of, that friend pushed the other friends around me away, and Ryan was the only one that came up to me and was like, "I got your back." That's what he said, and he stood up for me. And then I remember you came to my house and my mom gave you a hug because you stood up for me and whatnot. And that was like one of the defining moments that took our friendship from just, sort of acquaintances to like best friends. So there's that. And then of course I got some honorable mentions. We got Bazooka Zooka Bubblegum. Because back then Ryan had a really high-pitched voice, and he would always go, "Bazooka Zooka Bubblegum." And then, of course, followed by Instant Oatmeal, because for some reason he would say, "Instant Oatmeal." And then,
Hey,
I
still eat instant oatmeal.
Same. I don't know if this is a quote, but I put the SpongeBob laugh, because you know how to do that laugh. Can you do it? Give it one time. Nah. Actually, that was pretty good. And obviously coming up at number 1,
I'm terrified.
It's not bad. It's actually my origin story, if you will. We used to watch college basketball a lot, and the Dukies were they are my favorite college basketball team. And they have an announcer called NickyV, Dick Vitale. And they call him Dickie V.
Dukies are on fire, baby.
Look at there they go. But what Ryan doesn't, I don't know if you know this, but you actually gave me the name Nicky V because of Dickie V.
Oh, you're
and
right.
Ever since then, that's what I like to be referred to as, Nicky V. Working with kids, they call me Mr. Nicky V. But it all started with my origin superhero story of Ryan saying, "Nicky V, baby." Blah, 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 blah. So those are the most memorable Ryan quotes. Now, these are the most memorable Ryan moments. These are a little bit actually, I had to go through them a little because I was like, I don't know.
Now I'm actually terrified.
No. I got all the bad ones away. Well, okay. Most of them. So there's actually, how many I got? I got 8 total. 3 of them are honorable mentions. Coming in at number 5, we got the bumblebee sting. Ryan and I went to the beach, and I don't know how, but Ryan got a bee sting right on his neck, like right here.
No, right under the story wrong. That was at your football game.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, well then another time you got stung at the beach, but I think that was on your foot, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so never mind. But either way, he got stung on his throat, basically.
Leroy.
Yeah, and he got a huge double chin because it swelled up. And I was like, "Don't worry, I got this." At the time, I was on what's that, like an acne wash type thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Crap, I can't think of it.
Whatever it was, it had a lot of chemicals, and I was like, "This is gonna take care of it. Trust me." So we put this lotion on, and on the sting, and it swells up further. So he looks like Mitch McConnell, and I'm like, I didn't think that was good. And then proactive, that was it. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, so I kept putting like more and more topicals on it, and it just getting bigger and bigger. Like he was turning into Squidward's nose. And eventually he had to go home, and my mom had to tell him, or tell your mom, that like we treated Ryan with a bunch of pesticides and whatnot. Which I think it eventually went down, obviously, but yeah, that was
definitely a ton of Benadryl for sure.
That was one of the memorable Ryan moments. The fourth memorable moment I have with Ryan is the first time I ever met him. Actually, I had another friend at the time who I was good friends with, and I'd known of Ryan for maybe like a year because we played in the same basketball league. I just thought of Ryan as like this ridiculously good shooter because dude made everything from the wing, he was such a good shooter, which is because he wanted to impress a girl, but we'll, we'll say that for another story. But so our friend, we had a mutual friend, and he like introduced me one day. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is my friend Ryan," and I was like, "Oh shoot, that's Ryan. That's Ryan Podersky." And at the time, he had like this long hair. He was
Going
like,
back.
"Oh hey, what's up, man?" And like we said, "What's up?" And over the next couple of weeks of sixth grade, we ended up hanging out a lot, and now we're besties, best bros for life. So that's number 4 of my most memorable Ryan moments. Number 3, we have the infamous
Oh boy.
Ryan haircut buzz. So I don't even know what happened, but I just remember Ryan, it was me, you, and Theo, and we were at his house, and you wanted a haircut, or I don't even know if you wanted a haircut. I think we just said we're gonna give you a haircut, and you're like, okay. And we set you up in the bathroom. I don't even think we maybe gave you a towel or something. And Theo gets the buzzer, and he turns it on, and I'm just standing there like, are we really doing this? And like the first stroke, and there's just this big bald line right across his head, and Ryan can't see what we're doing, and me and Theo just look at each other like, uh-oh. And then Ryan's like, what was it, what happened? And he just starts getting super angry, and then we're just like, no bro, don't worry, we got this, we're gonna make it all right. And so then he keeps going and shaving it more, and the more he shaves it, the more hair is coming down onto Ryan's bare skin chest. And he's like, it's so itchy, and it was like one of the I almost peed my pants because I was dying so hard, because like, first of all, he looked ridiculous because he had like these puffs of hair that Theo just kept cutting around, and then he's like turning bright red because all this hair is like making him so uncomfortable. It was one of the funniest moments I think I've ever been a part of. But the Ryan haircut buzz of maybe 2011 or something like that.
It had to be, yeah.
Quite a memory. Coming in at number 2. Ow, ow. If you don't know, so I had it, or I have an account with lots of followers, but back in the day when Vine was around, Ryan actually made the rounds on the internet. At the time, there was a song. Well, at the time, there still is a song. I don't even remember. All That Matters, I think. All That Matters by Justin Bieber. And there's a point in the song where he goes, ow, ow, and he like does this little hip thrust. And I had the idea, I was like, wait, this is perfect. What if we like really played on that moment and like did the hip thrust in just really funny situations? So me, Ryan, and our other friend, we start filming Ryan like sliding in. I think, were you in your underwear the whole time?
Probably, yeah.
He had, was it my underwear or was it your underwear?
No, it was my Elmo underwear.
He had this Elmo underwear with like his Elmo's eyes and nose, like, little south. And Ryan would slide in and be like, ow, ow.
He tattooed me up too. Like,
oh yeah, and I tattooed, because Justin Bieber has a lot of tattoos. So we tattooed you up, and I almost got them pretty much exact because I'm a big Justin Bieber stan. And we finished the Vine. The last one, by the way, was Ryan was out in the snow with just his underwear, and he goes, ow, ow. And like I said, Ryan knew a lot of people that had connections to make this Vine blow up. So we paid for some promotion, and Ryan ended up getting like 50,000 likes or something like that. And
something absurd, yeah.
It started a trend of other people doing it, because I remember it was followed by another big account that started, doing that thing. So that was one of the funniest things, because Ryan's been embarrassed of it. So I had the video, but he asked me to delete it. So I
did. Well, I maybe
it might be on my Facebook still, or like private, but yeah, for those of you that don't know, Ryan has a history in show business. So
I guess. great. That was. Oh man, I don't
Good
even know.
times.
I
All
don't
right, so now we hit the honorable mentions. There's 3 of them. So this was maybe 2 years ago. Ryan came back and visited San Diego. He stayed with me, and unfortunately, I was still in school, so I couldn't just like hang out with him all the time. So I said, well, Ryan, what if you just like come to my class? What if you just come to my like, session of class? And I forgot that we had an exam that day. So Ryan shows up to my college class, and the teacher, he's a little out there. I don't think he really knew what he was doing, but Ryan sits next to me, and the teacher's coming around like passing out exams and whatnot. He gives me mine, and then he gives Ryan's, and Ryan's like, "Thank you." And I remember the teacher's like looking at him like, "Do I know you?" But he just like let him do it. And so we're taking our exam, and it's a movie class, so it's based on films and stuff. And I'm doing mine. I look over at Ryan, and Ryan's like, I don't know what I'm doing here. But I think you finished like first or second. Did you even know what the questions were about, or did you just guess?
I just like pretended like I was thinking, and I just bubbled random ones in.
It was like the funniest thing ever. And I think we ended up watching a movie. Was it
Pan's
Pan's
Labyrinth.
Labyrinth,
Yeah.
which is pretty sick, actually. I never seen it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the funniest moments, because like for us to get away with that was just really unusual and just hilarious. So that's honorable mention. All right, honorable mention, the second one. When we were in high school, I think it was junior year. It was nearing the end of the year, and luckily for us, it was me, you, our other friend James, and a couple other people. We all had a history class together, and you know where I'm going with this.
Oh no.
And Ryan, there was a big dance coming up.
I think it was prom.
Some people call it the prom. This was Ryan's one shining moment. And there was a girl in our class that Ryan wanted to ask out to the prom. So
I knew. I heard through the grapevine that she wanted to go with me, and I knew she would say yes. I never would have done this.
well, of course. So I mean, it was all like a for sure thing, which is good, because it would have been really bad if she said no.
I mean, I don't think anyone has the stomach to say no like that. They would have probably just been like, yeah, and then like, yeah, that's.
Well, here's what happened though. This is what happened. We were in the class, and Ryan hasn't arrived yet. And I don't know if I helped you plan it or whatnot, but I just remember you bust through the doors with flowers, and you ask the girl, you're like, "Will you go to prom with me?"
In front of the
And
whole
everyone's like,
class.
yeah, Ryan, yeah. And even the teacher, Coach Brown, was like, woo, 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 woo. And he had the audacity, because we have these projector screens in the class, to have you two stand in front of the projector and have like a beautiful sunset and like this lovey-dovey music in the background. And I took a picture, and it was just like, everyone's like, yeah, Ryan, yeah.
I felt like the man that day for sure.
That was bold, Ryan. That was bold.
Shoot, I need to get back to my roots.
Only Orion could do that. So that's that. And then we have 2 more. Wow. So the last honorable mention is actually from a day in 6th grade, when Ryan had an old flame of his unfortunately part ways. And this was like the first time I ever really told or got to talk to Ryan with advice, because we were just such new friends. And I think it's also notable that I watched a lot of rom-coms back in the day. So I thought I had a lot of knowledge on the topic of how to deal with a breakup. And Ryan, I remember she broke up with him. They hugged, and then we went to the basketball court, sat down, and Ryan's just like, man, she left me.
Dude, I was in 6th grade. Like,
I don't know, like, why would she do this? And I'm like thinking like, dang, dude, don't worry. I've seen a lot of rom-coms. I guarantee by Monday, she's going to come back to you. This is just what they do. Trust me. And Ryan's like, okay. Never talked again. I don't think you ever even gave eye contact to each other, but
I'm sure we did, but it was,
but it was just like, I was 100% sure. I'm like, dude, trust me. Like, she's going to be crawling back to you in a couple of days. Never happened.
that's okay.
That was a memorable moment for me. But the most memorable moment,
Oh boy.
Ryan, I want you to have a venture, have a guess. It's pretty, I'll give you a hint. It's pretty impactful.
What type of timeline are we talking? Was it recent?
Impactful. Impact.
Oh, the crash.
We were coming back in high school from, I don't know, was it practice or football game or something?
Cross practice.
And I was in my Land Rover. Very blessed to have one. It was actually pretty cheap to get one. It was only a couple thousand. But Ryan was in his Toyota Corolla. No.
Nissan Sentra is my dad's car.
Nissan Sentra. And we're going up Black Mountain Hill, and there's a stoplight, and I'm in front of him. I stop at the light. I look in my rear view mirror. I'm like, okay, Ryan's maybe like 200, 300 feet away. I'm like, I don't know if we're in my head. I'm saying like, okay, we're good. And I just start looking forward. And then all of a sudden, I'm not looking forward. I'm looking down. And I'm like, why am I looking down? And I like stand up. I'm like, what happened? And I look in my rear view mirror again, and all I see is Ryan's eyes. Like, he crashed into the back of my bumper, and not just like a little tap. It was like a boom. I remember the metal crushing and stuff. And I'm like, I've never been in a crash before. Luckily, Ryan was okay, but I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I don't remember if I looked out my window or something, and the front hood of Ryan's car was not flat. It was like up.
Yeah.
It was bent. And I just remember we sort of just like kept strolling along once the light turned green. And I look out my window, and Ryan can't see out his windshield because the hood's up. So he's driving with his head out the window down the street, trying to figure out where to go. And we pull over, and Ryan's like bawling. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to like say. And we meet up by our old middle school, and he's just crying. He's like, my parents are never going to forgive me, blah, 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 blah.
Dramatic.
I asked him, I said, what were you doing? Like, what happened? He's like, I was tying my shoe. Like, you're tying your shoe, bro. You're not even walking right now. And I'm like, something's not adding up. So long story short, he stays at our house for the night because I think his parents were away.
Yeah.
And, they figured out that, how to fix the car and whatnot. But then a couple of years later, Ryan reveals that he was actually like changing a song on his phone or something. So he wasn't paying attention to the road, and he, paid the price for it. But that was what I can remember was the most memorable thing that Ryan has done.
Yeah.
So Ryan, that's all I got. What do you think? What do you think of the list?
I think it was pretty on point, pretty epic. A lot of good memories and stories in there that I think will be, I hope that people will appreciate. But those were.
I think it humanizes you a little because people know you just as the RPD show, but there's a lot of Ryan behind that meaning. So
it is. I mean, Ryan's a part of the name. So, I mean, it's a part of me. I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna.
No, I think you've grown a lot from these things too, but it's just like, I mean, we've all done dumb things. I've done dumb things. These are all things that Ryan just happened to do. Like, I'm sure you could have a bunch of things that I've done that were not smart, but that's for another show.
Yeah, but dude, that's the best closing portion closing thoughts I've ever had. That was awesome.
Nice.
I'm glad. Yeah. But
I was watching a video the other day on TikTok, and this was some high school. They have like a this was ours, the flock. Del Norte. This is ours. This was theirs. Meow. I think they were cougars or something. I don't know.
the Cougars. But hey, Nicky V, thanks for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate you. Obviously, this was fun and long overdue, but love you, man. I appreciate the insight. This was a fun conversation. I hope everyone out there will enjoy it. Where can they follow you? What do you want to say?
Yeah. For those that want some more tips and stuff, if you guys are writing or just anything creative, really, you can follow me at NickyV. That's on my Instagram. And then my Twitter is my Twitter is NickyV author. And yeah, I mean, those are really my main spots that I go to. I have other social media platforms, but I forget their usernames. But yeah,
those are important ones. But
yeah,
hey, this was a real pleasure. Thanks for coming on the show. Until the next time, my man. Peace.